single just went platinum today. Do you know that? I'm serious.
Hypersensitive about what you're saying or doing on camera, or so that worried about what people are going to say?
No, not really. I mean, I can just be myself, and, you know, if they have a problem with that, then, you know, what can I do?
She would literally run herself into the ground.
By the time a wounded Justin alluded to a betrayal by Britney in his song Cry Me a River, it was clear Britney Spears was no longer America's sweetheart.
I just don't think it's cool to do that to other people's expense. I don't think that's very cool.
Okay.
If you understand what I'm trying to say.
I'm trying to read it.
Constant speculation about your virginity and whether you are a virgin or not.
I really wish I would have never said anything to begin with.
Talking about Britney, would you walk around the street in an effing bra? She's not being herself up there because she's dancing like a hoe.
Really, if I had an opportunity to shoot Britney Spears, I think I would.
Oh, that's horrible. Well, that's really bad.
The melody first, and then at the time, maybe when I was writing the song, I was going through a lot emotionally.
What do you think it'll take to get the paparazzi to leave you alone?
I don't know. I don't know.
Your privacy. 2 minutes.
All right. Good smiles. Look, y'all.
All
okay.
right. How you like it?
Okay, now can y'all say bye?
Thank you.
No days off. I wouldn't be able to see my kids or my boyfriend. I never had a say in my schedule. They always told me I had to do this.
I'm sad.
Britney Spears' most loyal fans overcome with emotion moments after a judge terminated the conservatorship that's controlled Britney's life and finances for nearly 14 years.
What's next for Britney, and this is the first time that this could be said for about a decade, is up to one person, Britney.
Did Britney just publish all of the dirty family secrets within the first 3 chapters? Yeah, she did.
Good for her.
If you've clicked on this video for all of the tea that is indeed in this book, I recommend just going to read the book yourself. And also there are so many other creators that have made videos about this. I haven't watched any of them yet, but like there are a lot of people that have already covered all of like the gossipy kind of things. And I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in like the broader things that Britney is actually bringing to light in this book. Right about these 3 themes: the 2000s, the control of women when it comes to relationships and portrayal in media, and the weaponization of mental health. Those are the 3 themes that I want to cover. If that doesn't interest you, if you just want the gossip, other people have made videos about that. I'm not here for that. Okay. Resources are in the description box down below because there is a lot of heavy stuff straight away. With my family, anything could go wrong at any time. I had no power there. Only when I was performing was I truly invincible. We'll just touch very quickly on Britney's family because Britney's father's side of the family in particular, kind of messy, okay? So Britney's father, Jamie, his father, June, was a terrible person. In my opinion, he was abusive to his son, Jamie, and also to his wife, Jean, who after she actually lost their baby, who was 3 days old, he actually had her sent to an asylum where she was put on lithium, and then she unalived herself with a shotgun. It's not the only wife that he actually put in an asylum as well, it was his second wife too. The way that he treated Jamie when he was growing up was to constantly push him harder, like nothing was ever good enough for him. And that was the exact same way that Jamie actually treated his kids, namely Britney's brother Brian and also Britney. Jamie was an alcoholic, he would go disappearing for days, he was a mean person. Britney actually preferred it when he disappeared. It was a kindness when he went away, I preferred it when he wasn't there. He had massive financial problems because of his alcoholism, but when he actually made an at-home gym and started charging people for that, that became a business, but then the alcoholism took over yet again. It's just ongoing problem. And Britney's mother, Lynn, actually used to yell at him at night time when he was in a drunken stupor, and Britney used to wake up all the time just yelling to just get them to stop. It was the other women in her family that she was closer to, her aunt Sandra, who became like a second mother to her, and also her great-grandmother Lexi. It was through that she actually learned the English accent, through all of the wonderful things that they did together, and they actually form like a lot of like the happiest memories of Britney's childhood. The rest of the time she got ignored and wasn't useful until she was really good at singing and then also gymnastics, and she started actually winning competitions, and then they took her further afield, and then after that they tried her out for the Mickey Mouse Club when she was 8. She lied saying that she was 9, obviously got rejected, but then when she was 10 she became understudy for the musical Ruthless for a character in that, and then became the main character, but then quit at Christmas time because she didn't want to work Christmas Day. obviously, same here. Britney still loves Christmas, and so do I. I want my Christmas tree up right now. And then Britney tried out for the Mickey Mouse Club again and got in and was put in the same room as Christina Aguilera. It was actually a really fantastic time for them there. Even though the work was hard, it was definitely like a family. And when Britney's grandmother actually passed away, it was Justin Timberlake's mother who actually lent them the money to be able to like go to be there for the funeral. It was a very family vibe. And also during a game of Truth or Dare, that was when Britney and Justin kissed, but we're getting more into Justin a bit later. When Britney was 12, her mother would actually take them out sometimes to go getting a toddy, which is like an alcoholic drink. And when Britney was 13, she started smoking. Her mother actually smelt it on her hands when Britney was driving, yes, at 13, and made the car swerve so much that they crashed because she was that worried about her daughter smoking, even though she'd been giving her alcohol, but that's fine. I'm not a parent and I never will be. Britney actually lost her virginity when she was 14 to her brother's best friend who was 17. They were in a relationship and he used to have her sneak out of school and stuff and then get back in time for like the end of the day, and yeah, it's a bit of a mess. Larry Rudolph was the lawyer that her mum would actually go to for business advice, and he introduced them to Clive Calder at Jive Records. She sang I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston. She loved Whitney Houston. Felicia Carlotta, or Miss Faye, was actually hired to be sort of like a live-in assistant for Britney as they lived in New York, because Britney's mum, Lynn, was actually teaching 2nd grade, and you know, Jamie Lynn was like really young at that time. So Britney would go and sing every single day, and then she actually met producer Max Martin, who you may know, who has produced incredibly famous work. She flew to Sweden to record her first album, and she did not want to like give up on work at all. She wanted everything to be perfect, and Max actually listened to her and allowed her to do more experimentation. My work ethic was strong. I would never come out. I would stay in the studio as long as I could. If anyone wanted to leave, I'd say I wasn't perfect. So we can definitely see her father's impact on her now, but also this was a girl that was also choreographing everything when she was like a tiny child. Performing was something that gave her so much joy, and this is what she actually like escaped to, because she was a very anxious child and she would hide away the rest of the time if she could. It was only when she was actually performing that she could be free, and that was kind of like her escape. She purposefully got vocal fry for Baby One More Time after listening to Soft Cell's Tainted Love. Max Martin listened to her and helped her make her wants happen for her first album. And speaking of Baby One More Time, Britney was actually the one to come up with the whole video idea, because they wanted to do something weird where she described her looking like a Power Ranger. She didn't want that. She wanted to have a school vibe and then for everyone to be in school uniforms, so then when they got changed into casual clothes, it was more exciting. Little did she know how iconic this outfit would become, but Miss Faye, Felicia, actually played the teacher in this video as well. Jive Records actually made her go on a mall tour, and if you want a brief history of mall tours, I highly recommend this video here. But Britney did not have a good time at that. Like, she actually deals with social anxiety, and she talks about this a lot in the book. You wouldn't think so, but performers can. It's in the same way, I think, when it comes to YouTubers, like, there is quite a different thing to being in a social environment as opposed to how Britney described it as you get to kind of like step into something, you get to control something else. When you're performing, it's such a liberating, freeing thing, but you don't really get that when it comes to social interactions. It's very different things. So people can have social anxiety and also be incredible performers, which Britney was and still is, as we know. She's also incredibly sensitive to other people's vibes, and she brought this up a lot in the book too. On the 23rd of October 1998, the Baby One More Time single hit stores, and 1 month later the video came out, and suddenly everybody started to recognize Britney, and she'd never experienced this before. On the 12th of January 1999, her album came out and sold over 10 million copies, debuted at #1 Billboard Top 200 chart in the USA. She was the first woman to debut a #1 single and album at the same time. I could feel my life start to open up. And then she toured with NSYNC, she was a regular on MTV's Total Request Live, and the infamous Rolling Stone cover came out, which was incredibly controversial. However, as we well know, talking about Britney's body and the controversy around it and everything that she apparently does or does not do with it is something that followed her for the rest of her life.
We just want to be in watching movies, just me and him, you know what I mean?
Right,
Try not to be surrounded by so many people all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, he said I love you to you when you...
He did, I know, I saw that. Wasn't that cute? At the very end, you know, he was like, and I love you. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah,
But
it was
how
very
nice
sweet.
is that?
Yes, it was very nice.
You gotta love him.
Yeah, I do.
I'm happy for the two of you.
Well, thank you.
I'd like you to work very hard to make it work.
Well, thank you. We will.
I get very upset when my, fantasy showbiz relationships don't work out.
Are you keeping up so far? Great, because now we're on to Justin, the policing of Britney's body, and the sheer audacity of a young woman having autonomy over herself in the 1990s and 2000s. I was head over heels in love with him. So in love with him, it was pathetic. I so hope that I can include this clip of Michelle Williams actually saying this line.
Jay got all excited and said so loud, oh yeah, faux shiz, genuine, what's up, homie?
And all the girlies say I'm pretty fly for a white guy.
Oh, Justin, yikes. If you want more of a deep dive into how Justin has actually used black people to his advantage, go check out this video from Kimberly Foster on her channel For Harriet. I highly recommend it. Justin seemed so carefree to Britney, but Britney could never actually be that way herself, because what was she busy doing? She was busy trying to escape from men leering at her, from men asking her incredibly rude and invasive questions in interviews, and also being told that she was a terrible example for children. This is something that gets brought up all the time, and it's like all she was actually doing was wearing cute clothes that she actually enjoyed wearing and dancing in the way that she liked. And she was a teenager. There is this notion that in order to actually be a teenager, you have to still be a child. I've talked about it more in this video here, actually. Go and check that out. Highly recommend it. It will be linked at the end of this video. I really want everybody to bear in mind it was her management, the publishers, everybody that wanted her to have this whole virginal image, because you know what America is really great at is having conservative values whilst also expecting the hottest virgins ever. It makes me think of the men of the manosphere, what they expect women to be like. You know, that's kind of what America seems to me, but I don't like it. Getting back to Justin, they were actually living together in Orlando in 2001, and she wanted to do their double denim thing for the AMA 2001 awards, and she actually loves seeing people do that for their Halloween costume, so keep at it, honey, is she loves it. The thing is that Britney actually knew that he was cheating on her, page 74 and 75 in the book. But she was trying to say that they were only together for a year. But sweetheart, you were together for a year and you were living together. I would not call this dating. This is a full-on relationship. She saw that he was with one of the girls from All Saints, and also another woman who is incredibly famous with a family. She didn't want to out them, so I hope that the internet sleuths haven't been finding out who it is, because Britney actually wanted their privacy to be kept intact. So I'm going to respect that. So after Britney had heard about all of the women that had been cheating on her with, she was like, screw it, fine, I'm going to go out too. And it was one time that she actually cheated on him with Wade Robson. We were out one night and we went to a Spanish bar, we danced and danced, I made out with him that night. And she admitted this to Justin as well, and they put it aside and put it down to youth. Bearing in mind, okay, this was one guy, and I don't know about in your country, but making out, at least in the UK and here in Aotearoa, that means passionate kissing. It doesn't mean going further. And this was with one person, whereas Justin had been with multiple women and done a lot more. But somehow she is the harlot. Cool, we love double standards, and Britney calls out double standards all the time in this book, and I love her for it. It's so good. At one point when we were dating, I became pregnant with Justin's baby. It was a surprise, but for me, it wasn't a tragedy. I loved Justin so much. I always expected us to have a family together one day. This would just be much earlier than I'd anticipated, but Justin wasn't ready because he felt too young. If he didn't want to become a father, I didn't feel like I had much of a choice. I wouldn't want to push him into something he didn't want. And honestly, if people are trying to actually come up with the argument, oh, you could have just become a single mum, you could have had the baby anyway. Really? In 2001, it would have ruined them both if she kept the baby, whether they stayed together or she raised the child by herself. So even though she didn't want one, she had an abortion, and this was nothing that she ever thought that she'd ever choose for herself. But of course, because they're so public, they had to do this in private. However, there were no painkillers involved. It was just Justin and Felicia that knew about it. This gets really graphic in the book, and I won't be going into details here, but she says it was some of the worst pain of her life, and she spent basically the whole day in the bathroom feeling like she was actually going to die. And she was just lying on the floor, writhing in pain. And you know what Justin did? Justin felt really bad for her, so he was like, oh, maybe my singing will bring her back up. And so he pulls out his guitar and starts strumming along, lying on the floor with her in the bathroom. If I'm ever in pain like that and some Chad decides to crank out Wonderwall to make me feel better, you're not trying to pick up a college girl at a bonfire, okay? Get the girl medical help. After that, I was messed up for a while, especially because I still did love Justin so much. I should have seen the breakup coming, but I didn't. When Justin was making Justified the album, he was really standoffish with her, and then one day when she was actually on set, he sent her a text message breaking up with her. What is it with like scummy people of the world and doing this to women when they're actually at like a crucial event or something? You know that Russell Brand actually said that he wanted to divorce Katy Perry via text as well when she was literally about to go on stage, right? I've even got a friend who got dumped via text when they were at a funeral. I know that there's never a perfect time to break up with someone, but don't do it via a text message, okay? Come on. The thing is, it was actually the loss of Justin's family that hit her really hard. They had been the only real loving family I had. Like, she used to go there for the holidays and everything.
It's a song that I wrote 2 years ago in Germany. It's the first song that I've ever written. It's a ballad, and I hope you guys like it.
It was speculated an awful lot that Every Time was actually her apology song to Justin after he came out with Cry Me a River. However, we now know it was actually about the abortion and the baby, and like she said, this messed her up a lot. This was actually the first song that she fully wrote herself. And if you watch actual performances of it, especially around this time, I was starting to cry. Every Time is actually far more of a powerful song than ever was really given credit for. I think it hurts that much more knowing that it was about the fact that she did not want to actually have an abortion as opposed to a breakup with a guy. Now, the damage that this boy did to Britney cannot actually be understated, especially after Justified and all of the interviews that he did, all of the jokes that he made. He did so much to actually continually throw Britney under the bus.
Timberlake has made a kind of sport out of public retaliation. On a popular morning drive radio show in New York promoting his album, he has a kind of gleeful confession about their very private life.
Top 97, the Star Blackout Morning Show. Justin Timberlake is in the house. And I just want to ask you one question. Did you Britney Spears? Yes or no?
Oh, man.
Come on, man.
Okay, I did it. No,
It was a really weird time. There was like talk about what we did together and like really sexually and stuff, and I just felt very exploitive.
And every time that he did, he became more of a star. People got more on his side. I was described as a harlot who'd broken the heart of America's golden boy. The truth was, I was comatose in Louisiana and he was happily running around in Hollywood. Oh yeah, by the way, he was actually sleeping with as many women as he could at this time, and Britney had meanwhile actually flown home and like could not even process anything. She basically just stopped talking. But she's the bad guy, she's the villain. Now, she has also said that she doesn't want hate to be sent to Justin, but I just think it's really important to actually like see the framing of this and just see exactly how much damage was done at this point, because basically after this happened, the world turned completely against her, because there is nothing worse than a woman cheating on a man, according to, I don't know, a lot of people, especially back then. This was 2000s misogyny, remember? And as Britney points out, there's always been more leeway in Hollywood for men than for women, and I see how men are encouraged to talk trash about women in order to become famous and powerful. And you know what? If Britney had actually said any of this in 2002, she would never have been believed. Her whole career, I'm convinced, would be over, because she's just trying to like clap back, and you know just how mean people were then. And even if she worked in like a different genre of music, say if she was in pop punk or something, do you remember how slut-shamey that was? They were calling women whores all the time, like even songs that we still love, like Stupid Girls, everything. Like even Avril Lavigne was against Britney. People were against her before for being too girly and too sexy and whatever, but now they had an actual reason, you know, so everybody clung to that. Too sexy, too soon. I was absolutely in awe watching the 2000 VMA performance, right? Like, this is incredible. However, you know what actually happened? Is they went and asked random people on the street what they thought of Britney, and everyone was saying, oh, she should be wearing more, aren't you embarrassed about looking like that, you're a terrible example, it's too sexy, you're too young, blah 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 blah. And it's like, meanwhile it's amazing dance moves and she is still fully clothed. They're just whatever. Everybody used to criticize her for wearing crop tops because those are really slutty apparently, even though like where she was actually from, this was normal for girls to go around wearing sports bras and stuff because it's hot, you know. And it's like, your actual problem is the fact that you are attracted to a teenager. That's actually what your problem is. I've talked about this in multiple different videos, but there is something so inherently gross about the policing of Britney's body in particular, and just how much it got picked apart, just how much it came up in every single interview, in every conversation.
I mean, I can't help that, and if the parents don't like them to see it, then change the channel. So, sorry. You know,
whether she was too skinny or too fat or too everything, as she has famously said in this amazing song. I was never quite sure what these critics thought I was supposed to be doing. A Bob Dylan impression? I was a teenage girl from the South who signed my name with a heart. I liked looking cute. Why did everyone treat me, even when I was a teenager, like I was dangerous? The thing is, right, that Britney was dangerous because she owned her personhood. She was actually comfortable in herself.
I feel so wonderful because I'm doing exactly what I love to do. And I'm experiencing all of my wildest dreams.
Sweetheart, you're a young woman. You're not allowed to feel comfortable in yourself. But she did. And one thing that I noticed across all of the interviews was like her clapping back with kindness. And this is just something that she does so often.
But I just think it's really funny though that, you know, just by me doing the baby video with my belly showing or whatever. I mean, I love Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, but when they're doing all those thrusts on the stage and when they're making out with the microphone thing, no one says anything about that. But when I'm just showing a little belly, everyone's like, ooh.
But everybody had such a vendetta against Britney. It's like, as she says, people couldn't actually see her as being talented and hot at the same time. And she got made to feel incredibly uncomfortable because more men were actually coming to her concerts, you know, like alone, just to leer at her. And it's like, that's not why she was performing the way she was. She was performing the way she was because she loved the way it felt. You know, like there is such a freeing feeling to that. And then you just have like these gross men like starting to come towards you. It's not actually what you're asking for, even though of course people labeled it as such. And Britney was definitely used as this sort of like beacon of everything that's wrong with society. I don't know if people actually grew up in that time. I was 11 in 2000 and she became such a punching bag.
Everyone's talking about it.
What?
Well, your breasts.
My breasts.
You seem to get furious when a talk show host comes up with this subject.
It was collectively agreed that everybody could hate on her, even if people did enjoy her music. And because of all of this, it was actually at this time when she was 19 years old that she started to take Prozac. We could indeed talk about this famous kiss between her and Madonna, but I think that I just want to direct you to this video from Verily Bitchy. I will have it again linked for you down below. It's fantastic and dives into the whole issue a lot deeper.
Oh my goodness, hello. Ew, strong Britney. Yeah, it was a weird time. Ew, I'm embarrassed. Can we stop this?
Diane Sawyer. So just after she released Toxic, one of her best songs, 4 men actually just barged into her place, one of them being her father, so you know that nothing good is actually going to come of this. And then she found out the next day from her team that she was going to be interviewed by Diane Sawyer.
So much suffering. What did you do?
It was completely humiliating. I wasn't told what the questions would be ahead of time. It turned out that they were 100% embarrassing. I was too vulnerable then, too sensitive to do this type of interview. Please also bear in mind, despite actually coming out with Toxic, she hadn't actually been talking to anyone, she hadn't been going anywhere. She was absolutely a recluse because she was still heartbroken from Justin. Instead, I felt like I'd been exploited, set up for the whole world. In this interview, she even says, was breaking point for her. She felt something dark come over her. So at this point, she was left with nobody. No Justin, no family that actually cared about her really other than the money that she was giving to them because, oh yeah, by the way, when she actually did the Oops, I Did It Again tour, not only did she clear all of her father's many debts, she also built her mum a house and she continued to buy them a whole bunch of gifts and stuff. Just went on to fully financially support them so none of them can want for anything. But that wasn't enough for them apparently. This interview was truly like a setup to make a woman repent for her sins. Repent for the sins of attracting older men to her when she was a teenager. Repent for the sins of cheating on a man, which is something a woman must never do, but it doesn't matter about the fact that he was cheating on her repeatedly. Repenting for the sins of ruining the youth of today. Like, she apparently had done everything wrong and was absolutely made to know it. So of course, what is she gonna do? As someone with social anxiety, she's gonna be more reclusive, and this obviously is not gonna work out well for someone if everybody around them just keeps constantly hounding them. Because remember, even though Britney was only doing boring things, if she ever did go out and leave the house to get a coffee or something, she was photographed relentlessly, made fun of for how she looks without makeup, made fun of for how trashy she is. There was so much classism around at this time. It was really disgusting. And because she was a country girl, and that used to be endearing, but now it got used in a classist way against her. What everybody wanted, the public, the paparazzi, everybody wanted was to see a broken girl, and that's exactly what they did, and whatever was left, her family finished the job. Everybody knows about Crossroads, right? But she also auditioned for The Notebook, which she's actually glad she got turned down for. She gets too into the character, which I can completely understand as someone that is also similar. But then she got invited to take the role of Roxy in Chicago, and she turned it down. Chicago is one of my favorite musicals, and Britney got actually offered to be the role of Roxy Hart, and can you imagine Britney in this? Because she would have been amazing. Not that I don't appreciate Renee Zellweger's like portrayal of it, but honestly, if we could have had Britney, oh, and she really regrets this as well, because she says, I should have done it. I had power then. If only I'd been brave enough to not stay in my safe zone, done more things which weren't just within what I knew, but I was committed to not rocking the boat and not complaining even when something upset me. Because the thing is, right, Britney didn't really have many strong female role models in her life, and she would have gotten such gumption after this, because anytime that I'm really mad at the world or something, I will watch Chicago or do a Chicago workout or something. Just listen to the songs and then you just feel great. And I feel like that would have done Britney so much good to actually be in that. I really do, but c'est la vie.
I think I'm just like anybody else, you know. I long for love and companionship and friends and all of those things, you know.
Out of here.
He doesn't want to stay, and it's really hurting me.
Socially awkward princess, the paparazzi, and the false social climbing prince. I'm skipping ahead a bit to K-Fed because I need to talk about him and the scumbag that I personally think he is, even though Britney doesn't really talk badly about him in this. The thing which set him apart for Britney was the fact that he would hold her and make her feel safe for as long as she wanted to be held. And part of her was thinking this is regressive to sort of want this sort of safety, and that it's not feminist to want that. And I'm sorry if Britney ever would watch this video, but I want to tell anybody that might have read the book and actually taken that sort of messaging, it is not anti-feminist to want to be in a relationship that makes you feel safe, to make you feel secure, to make you feel wanted. That is not anti-feminist in any way. To, at the end of a hard work day, just come home and actually feel safe with someone, that is not anti-feminist at all. That is what a relationship should be, I would argue, for both or all parties actually involved. She didn't know that he actually had a toddler, and also his ex-girlfriend was 8 months pregnant. And it was only after they'd been together for a while that one of her friends even told her. What? And people will say, of course you would have known, like, you're so famous, everybody was around you. And it's like, this woman was socially awkward, living in a bubble, and if she ever was doing something, it was around work, okay? That was the stuff that she was doing. She didn't exactly have, like, industry insiders that she was close with, because don't forget, everybody hated Britney, and the paparazzi were chasing her everywhere, making her more reclusive. And as she says, so a number was done on me. Obviously, I had no idea. I do have to commend Britney a lot here for doing the most 2000s thing that you could have done, because I wish I had the money to have done this at my wedding, and to kit out my bridesmaids like this, I am just applauding you, even if like the marriage turned out to be a disaster. This is an iconic moment and I fully endorse this. Here is where things start to get really bad, because when she actually gave birth to their first child, Strawn Preston, the main danger that she was actually scared of was the paparazzi, because as I've been showing you, the paparazzi were getting more and more ferocious with her. And she did try to be kind, like she's a southern girl, she's got good manners and stuff, but she really did not feel safe for these kids, because when they were actually in her womb, she felt like she could protect them, but once they were out, she was so scared of these people just hounding them. There was no way for her to be able to protect them. These days we've gotten a lot better with actually giving people a bit more respect around their boundaries when it comes to like kids photographs and stuff. Like I do not show kids pictures on this channel ever, like unless it's from a movie or something. I don't do that because I don't think it's okay. But back then, especially around celebrities, it's like, we built you, so you owe us your firstborn and your secondborn, actually your whole life. How about you just give us your body and your blood and everything? That was the sort of attitude in the 2000s, and Britney was kind of like the one that would make a lot of money for the tabloids, so they all wanted to be able to like get her in the most unflattering ways possible. She says this in the book, Britney Spears got huge. Look, she's not wearing makeup, as if those two things were some kind of a sin, as if gaining weight was something unkind I'd done to them personally, a betrayal. At what point did I promise to stay 17 for the rest of my life? Kevin absolutely did play her, and the thing is that he started going to studios and she was supportive of him because she wanted him to be able to fulfill his dreams, and that was being like a rapper. Okay, sorry, you can't listen to his music and tell me it's good. You cannot. The thing is, when he went to studios, he was smoking pot, and Britney has said in the book that she gets contact high, and also she was pregnant with his second child, and so this was a way of being able to exclude her from his space. And he also went to a party and then started bragging to Britney that he met Justin Timberlake. To Britney, I met your ex, we had a great time, he's a great guy. What are you doing? And the thing which really broke my heart in the book as well, she was still sympathetic to him, even though like he'd buggered off to a studio elsewhere, and then he just went over to Las Vegas to go to a different studio, and he used her own security against her. He did not let her into the studio, he did not let her see him. And again, pregnant with his baby, she wanted to be able to actually spend family time together, and he was rarely ever there. This is a recurring thing for Britney in her life, was being shunned in relationships, first from her family, and then by Justin, and then by her own husband. Sean Preston was born on September the 14th in 2005, and on the 12th of September in 2006, Jaden James was born. And she was so scared to leave the hospital because there were so many paparazzi around there, and in actually like watching Britney leave anywhere, it just makes me think about Marilyn Monroe, and like, remember when she actually had just had this surgery done and they were jostling her so much to be able to like try and get the pictures, she felt like her stitches were actually coming open. That was a treatment to Britney every single day. And you know me and Marilyn, like I know her story all too well, right? And I sadly was seeing a lot of parallels between what Britney went through and what Marilyn went through, and it kind of broke my heart. And I do not like to make comparisons to Marilyn ever, like in my stuff, but I really think that a lot of the things that Britney got put through actually rings true a lot with what Marilyn went through. And in 2006, she did this one Dateline interview with Matt Lauer, which I also included some clips of in this, and he was asking her like, what can you do to make the paparazzi leave you alone?
There's not just one magazine, there's other magazines, and they're all paying to get a story, and I think that the energy from the people is it's kind of scary. Like, I can't really leave my home right now.
And she wished that he'd have asked the paparazzi, why do you not leave her alone? Because that was all that she wanted. This girl was weeping her eyes out. Like, she was destroyed at this point. It hurts watching this interview.
Is that one of your biggest wishes?
Realize that we're people and that we just need privacy, and we need our respect, and those are things that you have to have as a human.
It's Britney, bitch.
We're gonna talk about one of her most iconic albums, Blackout, and I feel like I should have a fedora for this part, but I'm not gonna because my hair is nice and clean. But just know, Britney was famous for her headwear during this time. And then Britney releases the pop album, Blackout.
Such a part of me, the record, because of what I've gone through.
I think I'm married for the wrong reasons. Instead of following my heart and like doing something that made me really happy, I just did it because for the sake of the idea of everything.
When Britney went into the studio, she actually got to play around and do exactly what she wanted. She was so creative at this time. She decided, screw it, I'm not going to do business the way I used to do it. I'm not going to follow the rules. I'm going to do exactly what I want. And she played around with so many things, and she got more and more collaborators that she really, really admired, and she loved making this album. This was huge for her. And even when it comes to like making that first video, which she does say is tacky now, but like Gimme More was her just saying like, screw it, I'm just gonna like go to a bar with my friend, and that is exactly what they did. Like, this was Britney's kind of like she said, a battle cry. It was definitely like an FU. However, the thing is that she could only be in the recording studio for 30 minutes at a time because the paparazzi would find her and start hounding her. And after K-Fed actually did this terrible Super Bowl advert, she found out from her lawyer that, you should probably divorce him. And the thing is that K-Fed didn't want to divorce her himself, and the recommendation from Britney's own lawyer was for her to divorce him to make sure that she didn't get embarrassed. The thing is that this actually worked so well for K-Fed because this meant that because she started the proceedings, she had to pay all of his legal fees. She had to do everything for him, even though he was the coward who wanted out. He just used her. He's worse than a rat. He's this.
There were me beside fleas and rats.
You tell him, Frenchie. This happened when Jaden was only 2 months old and they both filed for full custody. I'm sorry, this guy filed for full custody who had barely ever been there with his kids? Oh, screw you. However, okay, Britney did not like the fact that people kept on making fun of him and being mean to him, especially during a custody battle. It actually kind of made her incredibly sad, and she didn't know that this whole Jimmy Kimmel thing was actually going to happen. She was incredibly sad about it. She was completely caught off guard. So after this and Justin, she struggled to trust anybody ever again.
Let's go, move back. Clear the way. Let us walk. Let us walk. Let us walk to the side.
Do you know what happens when you lock someone up for such a long time? They might start rebelling. And that was kind of what happened with Britney, because this is when Paris Hilton really became more friends with her because she could see that Britney was struggling a lot, and so she actually helped her, like, for the first time in a long time, go and actually have some fun. This is where Britney got painted to be the worst mother on the planet, as paparazzi were hounding her, as paparazzi were like constantly on top of her, on top of the kids, like harassing her every single place that she went to, and even capturing her as she was crying after like trying to flee them. Like, they were impossible to get rid of when it comes to Britney, and she was just trying to run away from them all the time with her child. And then what happened was this got spun to make her into a terrible mother, instead of actually reflecting on the fact that, hey, maybe chasing a woman with a newborn isn't actually a really good thing to do.
It's very important that Britney gets some baby safety training.
Coming up on the, the sides of the car, which is a scary situation for me. And they've crossed the line so many times, and I think because I'm a sweet young girl, nothing ever gets really done about it.
I know that paparazzi have changed a bit these days, but my god, it was brutal then. When she was actually out partying with Paris and stuff, like, all they were doing was drinking. However, everybody was saying that they were on all sorts of drugs and stuff. But as said before, like, Britney gets contact high from things and she feels really, really sick and really out of it, so she doesn't like that. Do you know what she was taking? Was Adderall to help with her depression. Oh no! Oh, the worst thing ever. Do we know what everybody else has been up to, especially men in Hollywood? Sweetheart, she felt guilty about admitting to this, and I'm like, oh my god, this is nothing compared to what you've been through. This is nothing. What was really happening in the press at the time was so much of the Madonna whore complex really rearing its ugly head, because apparently as soon as you become a mother, like, your whole life is meant to be about your kids, and you're not allowed to actually do anything other than, like, kind of be virginal. And I'm sorry, but Shansberg, you really do need to bury Freud, because this is still going on. She even tried to talk to her mum, and her own mum just kept shaming her, and it's like, Britney had actual care for the kids sorted. But no, worst mother ever, Terrible, terrible person. Kevin started to keep the kids away from Britney, saying that she shouldn't have access to them at all, and he started to stop her from being able to see them. In January of 2007, Britney's aunt Sandra, you know, her second mother, actually passed away of ovarian cancer, and after that happened, she actually went over to Kevin's house to go see her kids, and he wouldn't let her see them. Jaden was 5 months old at this time, and Britney was being barred from seeing her children and had just lost someone that she considered to be a second mother. And the paparazzi caught all of this, and they just kept on hounding her. She got driven to such a brink that this was the night that she decided to shave her hair. Shaving my head was a way of saying to the world, F you. You want me to be pretty for you? F you. You want me to be good for you? F you. Because of the divorce, Britney had to move into a different house in Beverly Hills, and she tried to go and see her kids again with her cousin Allie. However, Kevin turned them away yet again. This was in public, and the paparazzi caught the whole thing. And her and Allie just like pulled over somewhere to try and figure out what to do next because she really wanted to be able to see her kids. And the paparazzi were demanding answers to their horrible, incessant questions.
Please, guys, don't do this.
And Britney snapped because of course you would in this sort of situation. I would have many years ago in comparison to her. And this is where you get the umbrella to the car thing. She would never hurt anybody else, but she attacked the car. And she even sent an apology note the next day. She was so embarrassed about it. However, you know, obviously the paparazzi, as we know from this documentary, even if Britney doesn't like it, they made an awful lot of money from it.
But it was a good night for us because it was a money shot.
Oh, you are scum. She went to LA to go see her brother Brian, but her mother didn't even want to look at her. Like, she was so ashamed. Like, confirming to Britney that it only mattered about the way that you looked to be worthy of anything, according to them. I've talked about this whole issue when it comes to mental health in particular in this video up here. When it comes to her going to rehab, the only reason that she actually did this was to be able to have access to her kids again. I felt it had more of a rage and grief problem than a substance abuse problem. And her father said, "You're a disgrace," which is rich words coming from this dude. In 2007, she was meant to promote Blackout, the album that she was the most proud of. And this is when she did the VMA performance. However, she did not feel ready to do it. And things were not going right with the costume, with the wig, with anything, and we know exactly what happened, right? We remember all of the news stories and everything, and everyone called her so fat when she had just recently had a baby, my god. And then what happens? She runs into Justin, "I'm gonna break up with you over text message," Timberlake, and he was having the best night of his life. He was full of swagger and having the greatest time. You don't usually have one of the worst days of your life in the same place and time that your ex is one of his best. Sarah Silverman actually did a roast of Britney there as well, saying that Britney had accomplished everything that she possibly could do in life.
5 years old, and she's already accomplished everything she's going to accomplish in her life.
Not really a good thing to say to someone when they're going through stuff mentally, just saying.
Have you seen Britney's kids? Oh my god, they are the most adorable mistakes you will ever see.
Meanwhile, Britney was sobbing hysterically backstage. When I say everybody was against Britney, I truly mean it. Like, Britney was the punching bag and everybody loved to be horrible to her. Even her own team went against her, with her management quitting and one of her bodyguards even going against her in court, saying that she was taking drugs, but he was never actually cross-examined. The thing is that a court-appointed judge actually went to the house and said that Britney loved her children. There was nothing at all in her house that could be called abuse. But of course, none of that would make the headlines because people wanted to have this certain image of Britney promoted, and they wanted to have someone to absolutely vilify and hate. And Britney was the perfect target for this, right? Because there are so many reasons, like I said, when it comes to the classism, when it comes to the fallen child star. She was like an American dream. She was with Justin Timberlake. Like, there are so many things, and the fact that she was like one of the like top selling pop stars of all time. Like, there was so much to be able to like relish in this whole tall poppy syndrome of cutting someone down repeatedly, getting to like bully someone and see them be destroyed. In January of 2008, she had the boys at her house, and she thought that after she gave them back to Kevin, she wouldn't be able to get them back, so she actually locked herself and Jaden in the bathroom, and then a SWAT team come along, barged down the door, and then guess what happens? She gets strapped to a gurney and gets taken to mandatory hospitalization for 72 hours, and of course the paparazzi has a field day with this yet again. And the thing is that Britney's family did nothing to try and help her. They were nowhere in any of this. The only things that they were doing was saying how much of a disgrace she was. Helpful, great.
I tell them what I like and what I don't, but every time I do, I stand corrected.
The abduction and the conservatorship begins. So Britney's mum said to come over for a slumber party along with like Allie and a couple of their friends. But when Britney was there, like she felt like something was off, and then suddenly there were helicopters, there was a SWAT team, and that was when she got taken away. Her father had struck up a relationship with Louise Lou Taylor, who was front and center during the implementation of my conservatorship. And in Britney's opinion, like Lou Taylor basically propped up their entire fledgling business on being the people behind Britney's conservatorship. Britney was highly functioning though, and conservatorships are meant to be for people that definitely aren't that. Like, there are some valid cases for conservatorships. Britney did not fall into any of those. And also, out of Britney's money at this time, her father was taking out the biggest salary for himself and then also even more for his friends. He set up conservatorship of the person and conservative of the estate, and she begged the court to appoint literally anybody else. She'd even take someone off the street. She wanted anybody other than her father because she knew what he was like. However, the court decided, of course, to just go with Daddy. Bearing in mind, Britney had to pay for all of this herself, including the court-appointed lawyer who she got told that she absolutely could not replace ever. She was paying them $500,000 a year. Her mother's memoir also came out where she was just relishing in every single mistake Britney had ever made. And just a few weeks after the conservatorship started, Britney got put to work, and work in a way where it wasn't like work that Britney had done before, because Britney's work ethic has always been incredibly good, but this time it was very different. This time it was, you are forced to work. There is a difference between wanting to work and overworking yourself because you're so passionate about something, which is what Britney was doing, and working heaps because you are forced to, which is what her father made her do. She went on to How I Met Your Mother, and then she started a tour, and she had so many things that she was constantly doing. Her father let her know in no uncertain terms that he called all the shots now. I just want to let you know I call the shots. You sit right there in that chair and I'll tell you what goes on. I'm Britney Spears now. Her father had taken over everything. If she went to a friend's house, it got swept for drugs beforehand, even Tylenol. Effectively, Britney's father and mother broke her. She went on autopilot thinking, if I play along, surely they'll see how good I am and they'll let me go. Which obviously never happened. And also, her father even turned Felicia away, and saying that Britney didn't actually want to work with her, even though Britney of course wanted to. Like, her father controlled every single aspect of her life. Like, people had signed NDAs, there was severe vetting beforehand, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I was side-eyeing the fact that she was allowed to even be with Sam to begin with, because she was made to break up with other people because of her family previously, but Sam got through. However, this book actually came out, obviously, she finished it before their divorce happened, but I know that she's going to be coming out with a part 2, so I guess we can dive more into that, because in this she's seeing all of the praises of Sam, and I'm like, it's a bit awkward. Britney was paying Kevin heaps of money at this point. She was on tour for Circus, which made $130 million, with the Lou Taylor company getting 5% of that, and her father also getting a percentage. And throughout the conservatorship, she paid him, he took $16,000 a month, which is way more than she ever paid him before. Again, they didn't want for anything, but of course he wanted to just be, what, a multi-millionaire at this point? You know the song Work Bitch, which is one of her favourite songs at this time because she didn't actually like most of the music that she was even coming out with or what she was doing. Whenever I hear it, all I hear is like, this is her father's words. Like, she is telling us what her father was telling her to do, because her father was controlling what she ate. He was monitoring her bathroom times. They even hired a security company which actually had ties to Lou Taylor's company, and he had a bug in Britney's home. Like, everything that Britney was doing was so closely monitored and punished relentlessly. They would go out drinking and having a wonderful time at places that she bought, and she was just there, left on this strict diet, left to do work, left to do therapy that she didn't want to do, left to go to AA meetings that she didn't even need to go to. But Britney's trauma response is effectively fawning. I feel like I aged backwards when I'm afraid. Like, she did things like the X Factor, she did all sorts of things that she did not want to be a part of. Like, she actually hated being on the X Factor, and honestly, working with Simon Cowell, I can understand why. She didn't name that was the reason, but I don't like the guy. Then of course she had her Las Vegas residency right after Christmas in 2013, and it was the fans that actually helped to give her strength from this. That it was the fans that made the difference, but she did not really enjoy the residency. She was finding little ways to retaliate, like by not flicking her hair around, by not being like the perfect sexy girl that people wanted her to be, but like it was the fans that she had the connection with at the start that were really helping her. But her father wouldn't let her change anything to do with the show. She wasn't allowed to do any change up to the music or anything. It was just the same thing all the time. She dated Charlie Ebersol, who was a TV producer who actually got her onto like pre-workout supplements, which really helped with her energy levels because she was really struggling with the energy levels. I can't imagine why. Then her father kept on taking them away from her. In 2014, she actually tried to get out of the conservatorship, but the judge wouldn't listen to her. And in a 2016 interview, she also talked about the conservatorship, but funny, that actually got cut out of the interview and that never actually went to air. Glory was the first album since Blackout which she actually likes the music of, and her sons like it too, which means like so much more to her. When I say Britney's work schedule was ridiculous and nobody would be able to keep up with this, I really do mean it. It was 4 weeks on performing and then with 4 weeks off, and performing for 4 weeks straight would take it out of anybody, just gotta tell you. She had 4 AA meetings a week, 2 hours of therapy, 3 fan meet and greets, and 3 shows. She was completely burned out, and anyone who tried to speak to her honestly about anything, they would somehow miraculously disappear, like her hairdresser and stuff. Britney kept on pushing back, saying that she wanted to have a full summer off, that she really needed a break, that she was exhausted, she wanted to have a holiday with her kids, and they kept on finding weird ways to like make sure that she wasn't actually able to do that, and saying that she could only have 3 weeks off, and saying that she wasn't behaving herself, and like basically just controlling her in every possible way, trying to get the most money out of her as possible because that's all she was a money making machine for them. She was meant to announce a tour for Glory in October 2018. However, instead of announcing it, she just walked straight into a car and just drove off, and honestly this is iconic. Even though everybody was baffled at the time, that's why she did it, because she wasn't going to be forced into this anymore. She was so determined to find a way out, and she had to go back to the Vegas show, and she got forced to actually see her therapist, who she didn't even want to see, who she like had to go and see. And because of like the vitamin supplement things that she was taking, they said that she must be taking more things, and so then she had to go to a rehab for this. And she was crying, asking how long she'd have to go for. It depends on how well you do and how well you demonstrate your capabilities. If she tried to retaliate or say that she wasn't going to go or stop it or anything, then say that they'd take it to court and they'd humiliate her again, saying, "We'll make you look like an effing idiot, and trust me, you will not win." She felt like they were trying to kill her. And when you're living in that sort of situation, you're just like, okay, I'll just play nice, I'll just do what I need to do so then they don't kill me. Like you try whatever you can to actually remain kind of like okay. And like she was saying, she tried to not rock the boat her whole life, but now it was like even more so. So even though she'd been on Prozac for years, when she actually went to this rehab place, where she wasn't allowed contact with anybody, by the way, she got put on lithium against her will. She did not want to be on lithium, in the same way that she didn't want to have an IUD, but her father forced her to have an IUD. Like, she was forced to subject herself to so many medical things. She had no privacy there. It was utterly disgusting, the treatment that actually happened to her. One of the saddest things for her was that lithium ruined her ability to dance. Like, it made her feel so incredibly out of it, so she had no way to actually gain any joy. She couldn't even see her dog, her kids. Like, she saw her kids if she was good for 1 hour on a weekend. During this time, she puts her survival solely down to God, and it was actually because of one nurse who actually became friends with Britney, who showed her on the computer like the Free Britney stuff that was starting to happen, even though at the time like barely anybody believed any of this stuff. Like, people were so skeptical about it, but like super fans were honestly convinced that something was going on with Britney, and that meant the absolute world to her. If you stood up for me when I couldn't stand up for myself, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. When she eventually got out of the rehab place, months later, she was still on lithium, and like her family came back acting like nothing had happened, like acting like nothing was wrong, and she was struggling immensely. Sean Preston, who was 13, was in an argument with her father, and then he shut himself in his room and was locking the door to like end the fight, and Britney's father Jamie broke down the door and was shaking him, and this is the moment where Britney realized, I have to get out of this. I have to get out of this conservatorship. It was that just was like, we're done, we're fully out. And K-Fed actually called the police and made sure that he couldn't actually be near the kids ever again. The one good thing that guy did
After I've lied and told the whole world I'm okay and I'm happy, it's a lie. I thought maybe I said that enough. Maybe I might become happy because I've been in denial. I've been in shock. I am traumatized.
And this is when she started doing her Instagram videos to make sure that people would actually know, like, it's actually her. That she was starting to, like, try and make this reconnection with people. She was copying dances that she saw and she was just having a good time, even though people still to this day are saying all sorts of terrible stuff about her, which I absolutely hate, but we'll talk about that at the end. During lockdown, she couldn't actually see her Sam, or as we know him to be Sam, or her ex-husband now. I say that with disdain for him, not for her. So she went to Louisiana to see her family, and this is where she realized that they actually do not care about her because they'd thrown away the poetry that she had spent 3 years writing. They threw away her beloved childhood toys. They threw away basically everything to do with her. And so this is where she kind of made peace with the fact that it doesn't matter if I don't see these people ever again. She was done with them. And I'm amazed it took her this long and this much torture. I'm proud of her for getting there, but it hurts the fact that it took her such a long time to get to that point. On the 22nd of June 2021, she actually called the police to report her father for conservatorship abuse. Like, she was still under her father's control, and seeing the documentaries actually broke her heart a lot because her friends were actually in it without actually asking her beforehand. Whilst the intentions were good and she recognizes that, I mean, you can see it from her perspective as well when you feel like you've got no one around you, and then just seeing like people that you used to be incredibly close with like kind of talk like behind your back. That's how it felt to her. But the thing is that without these documentaries, a lot of people wouldn't even realize like just how serious the situation was for Britney, because the thing is that Jamie, her father, had such a tight lock on everything. Getting any information was near impossible. So like it took these people an awful lot of work to be able to convince people that Britney was actually trapped in this conservatorship, that she was being abused. And still people are asking for her to go back into the conservatorship today, which makes me so angry. But again, we'll be talking about it. Sorry, I keep on skipping ahead. And then on the 23rd of June is where you actually had this phone call which happened between her and the judge, which I included a short clip of before. We've all heard this conversation, and you can hear like her rushing so much in her voice because she hasn't really been able to talk about it. She was so nervous and she just wanted to make sure that she got taken seriously. And you can hear the desperation in her voice.
Ma'am, my dad and anyone involved in this conservatorship and my management who played a huge role in punishing me when I said, no, ma'am, they should be in jail.
She was able to get her own lawyer now after years of being told that she absolutely wasn't able to. She had to keep on this court-appointed lawyer who did nothing for her, honestly. And this is Matthew Rosengart, and this is thanks to her social media team and also to her friend Cade for actually finding them. On the 29th of September 2021, her father was removed as conservator, and now it was time to get rid of the whole entire thing. And she found out when she was actually in Tahiti, a place where she should have been able to be years ago, actually just enjoying the fruits of her labor. And she found out, and it was like this huge weight got lifted off her shoulders. And the thing which I really love that Matthew Rosengart actually did was he told Britney it was because of her testimony, it's because of what she did that she was actually able to be free. And for a woman that had been like stomped on, broken so much, to be told that, I'm so glad that he did say that, because of course it was a lot to do with him, but if Britney hadn't been like pushing and trying to actually get out of this, it wouldn't have been able to happen. Same as if the fans hadn't been speaking up. And that's a really sad thing as well, because she's an international superstar, and yet I'm actually positive that there'll be so many people locked in conservatorships that are actually doing atrocious things to people. So luckily this has shone a lot of a spotlight on it, as we were talking about a couple of years ago. Again, I will link some other videos for you, but it does really like scare me a lot that the legal system allows for things like this to actually happen. Like I said, in some cases conservatorships are needed, but it's not as needed as what people may think. After what her family did to her, I don't know if she'll ever be able to repair the bonds of it, but honestly, I kind of don't even want her to. I don't want her to waste any of her energy on this. Like, she's in her 40s now, and she's actually just being able to like experience things and try new things and actually find some joy in her life. Like, she was stuck in a conservatorship with no access to anything for over 13 years of her life, drugged on things that she didn't want. She wanted to be able to have a baby and she was forced not to. Personally, I don't think that she should give them a second thought ever again. But that could just be me, that could just be the Scorpio self in me, because I think that she said everything that she needs to say with this book and exposing them. I think that this can be her F you goodbye letter to them, personally. She says, I know that a lot of people don't understand why I love taking pictures of myself naked or in new dresses. I get a lot of joy of posing the way I feel sexy and taking my own picture and doing whatever I want with it. As a baby, I had my whole life in front of me, and that's how I feel now, a blank slate. The girl's just having a good time. She's actually not hurting anybody, and all she's doing on Instagram is actually like trying things out and like dancing. You know what? As I've watched a lot of her life, a lot of the rehearsals, all of the performances, this is the stuff that she loves to do. And remember, in that conservatorship, she was doing that through force, and now she can dance for joy. Like, she loved doing all of this choreography, and she gets inspired by people that she sees on TikTok or Instagram or anywhere, and she's recreating it in the same way that we all do. And I just want to do this thought experiment for anybody that likes to, you know, try and tear Britney apart, okay? Britney is in her 40s now. She has been put on lithium, which does long-term damage to people. She has been through trauma that most of us couldn't actually imagine. Just because she's a woman in her 40s that dresses in a way that doesn't conform to like standards that people appreciate, and because she doesn't have like the correct lighting angles or whatever, it means that the way that she's dancing and what she's actually doing, it comes across as like really weird. Also because like it's not the same editing as what like a 19-year-old on TikTok does. You see people do this stuff on TikTok all the time and you don't have a second thought about it, but there is so much ageism and ableism so inherent in our society that when we actually see somebody having a good time who doesn't actually fit like an attractive young mold, even though Britney is definitely still attractive, like if we see somebody doing that stuff, then that is cringe and we hate them for it. And also don't forget, we like to see celebrities and even ourselves as a brand, and the fact that Britney is refusing to do that makes people feel uncomfortable because we're not used to seeing that. We're not used to seeing like such earnestness, and she is being incredibly earnest as she's just trying to like discover things and enjoy life and live her life. People say that they care about people's mental health or whatever, but you only care about it when it fits into a certain like aesthetic kind of it's cute sort of thing. And Britney's actually still having to heal from so much trauma right now, and she's, like I said, she's not hurting anybody. Things may be a bit cringe sometime, but that's literally it. And I personally don't think that that is worth like vilifying someone for in the way that has been. And every time that I see people mocking the way that she dances, every time, like even with that fake knife thing that she did, you have Shakira doing that, you have people actually doing that in different countries where it's actually like a form of dance that people do on stage and that is celebrated, but Britney does it, but because of this ableism that is so inherent in people's minds, they're like, oh, she needs to go get locked up again. And I'm sorry, but going through the torture that she went through this book, that should not happen to anybody, okay? Like, this is where I'm absolutely getting on my soapbox and I get so mad at people because I'm so passionate about people being treated with actual decency and people deciding that they know everything about someone and they know what's best for them, but just because they see like tiny snippets of them online and start diagnosing them. Also, please don't go diagnosing this woman with stuff because she hasn't told us what she's dealing with. She hasn't told us what she's like suffering from right now, other than the fact that we know that she's been through incredible trauma, and she said she's got a phobia of doctors because of what her family has put her through. Like, they were pinning her down and taking her blood. Like, I really need to calm down, but as you can tell, this is something I'm really passionate about. I love the way that she ended this book as well. She put the emojis in the back of the book for us. If you follow me on Instagram, you thought this book was going to be written in emojis, didn't you? With like a bunch of like with a bunch of roses afterwards. Honestly, Britney's so iconic. Like, I'm just so glad that now she actually gets to find her own joy in her own way. And I don't think it's right for anybody to try demanding things from her when clearly that has been done for so many years. She's been forced into so many different molds, forced to do so many things that she didn't want to do, and now she gets to just do what she wants, and I'm excited for what she's going to do next. I'm also excited for part 2 of this, because this was going to be a lot longer and it got made shorter. There have been rumors of lawyers being involved, and of course in this she goes saying about how much she loves Sam and stuff, and we know that that's over, and we know that he was scummy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that. But most of all, whether she's with someone, whether she's alone, whether she's just with her dogs, her kids, whoever, I just want Britney to be like happy and safe, and I honestly want that for everybody. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people making horrible comments about her. Honestly, I'm just going to tell you to go get a better hobby, because you need one, clearly. If you did make it all the way to the end of this video, which I originally wanted to be 40 minutes, but I can guarantee it's going to be longer, what is your favorite Britney Spears album? I would love to know, because I can't get past this one, I'm sorry, but this was my childhood, literally. Like, I remember staring at this golden cover so much and staring at all of the pictures inside. This is my favorite Britney album. I have the songs go on in my head a lot. I know so many people love Blackout and that's their favorite album. If it is, all respect to you, because that's Britney's favorite as well. But like, there is just something about this that I love so much, okay? Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!